There's a kind of loneliness. It doesn't show up in any of the moving to France videos you've been watching. I'm sure of it. And it's not the this type of loneliness. I haven't made friends yet. It's not the I miss home type of loneliness. It's a sneaky type of loneliness. It's like that Sunday afternoon where the light in your apartment is just hitting right. You have like your hot chocolate or your tea, windows are open. You have like your bread from the boulangerie or, dessert from the patisserie. But you're just like, why do I feel like crying? This this is the loneliness that I'm talking about. And it gets really, really amplified when you live abroad. And it shows up especially when your life on paper is working. Like, this is the kind of loneliness that happens. Your visa came through, so everything looks great. Your apartment is cute. The neighborhood is doing its thing. And still somewhere you're kind of like unsettled underneath the whole thing, right? So if you've been thinking about moving to France, nobody has prepared you for this. It's because most people don't talk about it, including myself. I've never spoken about this before, and the other women living here, especially us. So let's talk about it. Quick intro if you're new here. I'm Diedre, I'm Jamaican, so non-EU, living in France for a total of about 9 years now. I work in HR here, which means part of my job is helping foreign employees get through their residence permits, their paperwork, things like this. And I'm a foreigner myself. Outside of work, I coach women through their move to France. And this video isn't to scare you out of moving to France. It's quite the opposite. It's for this video, I want to talk about. It's for you if you're serious about moving to France, like really serious about your move abroad to France. Then stay, stay with me. You're going to want to hear more because I want you to come into this project, this deep, personal, great part of your life. It's such a pivotal part of your life. I want you to come into it with eyes wide open, both of them, so you really can have a good understanding of what you're getting into. It's going to be amazing, but it comes with a lot of hard truths as well. Because when you do this work, you will plan for the emotional architecture of what you're building. It's not just about paperwork. Moving to France is not just about paperwork. It's building that architectural, architectural. This is in my brain today, but it's building that emotional, I don't know, protection, armor. It's not like a defense system, but strength. Yeah, to move abroad. And before, I like go a little bit more. If you've been doing research and you're starting to realize that this move abroad thing project it's a whole bigger conversation than just visa and flight, then that's the moment that my one-on-one strategy session called Your France Blueprint, that's what it's designed for. It's one-on-one, like I said. You and we sit with your specific life. We figure out what your version of this move to France actually looks like, including the parts that you won't get on my YouTube videos, of course. Link is in the description. So when you're ready, you can go look it up. We'll come back to my blueprint session later. But for now, let me actually talk with you. So this idea of loneliness when you move in France, there are several types, and I think it's important to understand that you're a foreigner here, and that layer doesn't really go away. So there is a sort of like otherness or difference that I don't know. Sometimes it can put up like a barrier. I don't feel this too much. And it's not a bit of a it's not like a hindrance for me, but there is you will kind of always be a foreigner here, even after the language gets better, you get fluent, even after you have like your favorite cafe, even after people, you have like local friends and you're deeply immersed. And people at your street stop looking at you like you're new. I think you can already imagine yourself living that part of life in France. So that's not really what I'm here to talk to you about today. Um, I want to be honest about, you know, I don't know when it gets hard, but this reality of living abroad. And so I'm an introvert, right? And so solitude is restful for me. It doesn't drain me. Even though I like being social, it's- that's something that's actually draining more than it recharges me. And so being alone, living alone abroad is not, I don't think it's something that stresses me out or brings me anxiety or anything like this. But for many people, and myself included, there is a level of loneliness that comes in. I think, and it's especially like this relational loneliness, like you miss out on friends or you miss out on like events in your family's life and stuff. For me, though, this isn't the loneliness that I experience, actually. This isn't like a big deal for me. I think ever since I've moved away, it's been over 15 years now. It's never been, I think I've always known and always like came to that realization and understanding that venturing out into the world on your own is inevitably going to create some distance. And I think that distance just creates distance. Even if on the flip side, there is distance makes the heart grow fonder. I think objectively, just distance creates distance because that's what it is. You are going to miss out on things. Um, and so I've never felt loneliness as it relates to that. And I think part of that is also because I understand on the other side of that distance, when I'm missing out on my friends' events or family celebrations or whatever, family, celebrations or whatever, that equally they're missing out on my life too. And so I think there is, I don't know, like a fairness to it or some sort of like justice in that everybody's missing out on each other. And so that sort of that kind of like fairness of and like intuitive understanding that distance creates distance doesn't bother me when I do miss out or if family and friends or close ones miss out on things in my life. Because yeah, they are missing pieces the same way that I'm pieces of my life, the same way I'm missing pieces of theirs. And we're both, each of us, we're moving through time without each other. And that's what happens when you live abroad or you live, in a different place from your friends and family. Everybody's moving through time without each other. So I can't really like sit with that one and like get sad about it. Like I've never gotten sad about this part. I think I've made peace with that since before I ever got on a plane. So when I tell you that living abroad is lonely, I'm not talking about this aspect of missing people. That's not where my loneliness lives. It's not where it lies. I'm talking about something else entirely. And it's the loneliness of, I don't know, just carrying it, of being by yourself abroad. Like when you move abroad alone, you become the only one. And I think this is just like the heavy part. You're the only one on your bill. You're the only one. doing anything. You're the only one solving every problem that comes in your life. You're the only one celebrating things. You're the one figuring out every system, every letter that comes in from the government. You're the one that's reading it. Every time something breaks, you're the one that have to like pick up the phone. You have to call the Sandeek. You have to, nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to save you. And I think there's like, I don't know, maybe this is part of like the loneliness of adulthood. But when you live abroad, it really, really amplifies it a lot. Like that loneliness of just doing things on your own, carrying your life by your own. There's nobody close to you who can take any of this burden. I just like I don't want to be over dramatic, but there's nobody that can like take this part of it, even for an afternoon. You're it, that's it. You're in a whole country by yourself. So understand that that is an inevitable part of thing. And sometimes it can be very, very exhilarating. It is very freeing to be able to live one's life on their own decisions, their own accord. Yet, yet, even so, there is a heaviness that can come with the accumulation of living your life on your own terms. And listen, a lot of women who do this, who move abroad alone, I think we have the temperament for it. And if you're seriously thinking about moving to France, if you're thinking of moving to France, then you are capable. Um, you've been adulting for years, even before you decide you're going to step on that plane to France. But like I said, it has like a weight to it. And adulting and living alone abroad, like it's a different size. It comes with a different level of heaviness, even with freedom attached. And it's because everything is new and everything is foreign. And it's in a language that isn't natively yours, no matter how comfortable you get in it. And it's in a system that wasn't built around you in the first place. But you can do it and you will. And you'll do it like on a Tuesday, on a Saturday, when you're tired, when you're not, because that part is just part of life that everybody has to go through. And you do this you do this by yourself anyways. Just you living wherever you are right now. And so moving abroad, you can do it and you'll do it. So that's not the question of whether can can you move abroad and handle things on your own. Like I think you're fully capable of doing it. The question of the loneliness is, and I don't want to be like dramatic, but the loneliness is in the moment. It's kind of like somewhere inside all of that doing where you realize, yeah, nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to save me. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to help you. There is nobody to put this down with. And there's also like not really anyone who fully truly understands what this even is, unless you're talking to somebody who is moved abroad before, like me in my blueprint session when we go one on one, when we talk about your move abroad, or any of your other friends, or when you finally move to France, you finally make that move and you meet friends in the diaspora, you have other expats, uh, you know. Um, other than them, there isn't anyone else that fully understands what this life is. And that's the one, that's the loneliness I'm talking about. It's it was quite surprising when I figured it out, I think, because for a while I thought, okay, once I have friends, once I have my people, I found my tribe. Like this part will pass. But it didn't really pass. Um, because even with my friends here, I have a small core group of friends, and with a good support system, even with locals who really care about me, even with a partner, uh, there are just certain things that you will have to carry alone. And there's a difference between somebody being able to like sympathize with what you're going through and them really being able to relate to it. And this relating or lack of having anybody relate to your life abroad is where I get lonely. And it's where I don't see many people talk about in their journey of life abroad. Yeah, you won't have like anyone to relate to many things sometimes. Um, when you're talking to locals, they've never had a Tuesday where the simplest thing, like I remember fixing like the toilet, just having the plumber over, calling the bank, and it turns into like this long 4 hour situation because I'm operating a country that isn't like natively mine. Like I don't know some of the words, I'm still figuring it out. Uh, and then when you kind of like finally sit down to tell somebody what your day was like, you have to explain the layer underneath the thing before you can even talk about the thing. This part is the part that when I'm talking about that can be lonely. And the other person would be like, yeah, that sounds rough. I didn't mean it, but they just don't feel it and they don't relate. That's the other layer of this. And I think that's when I get loneliness. Um, and then another way that inevitably the loneliness of living abroad and why life in France can feel so lonely sometimes, even when it's right. It's your most aligned decision that you'll make, right? This loneliness doesn't hit during the hard parts. And this is the part that confuses me. It confused me a bit. And I think it confuses people. And I think they mistake it for that life in France or their life abroad is not going well, or they made a mistake. And I think they mistake it for regret because it passes, right? But it doesn't hit you during the hard parts because the hard part of living abroad, I think you're braced for it, you're prepared for it, you've done your research, you've talked about things, you really understood, okay, there's paperwork, there's visas, there's things that will not work out right. I need this. The hard parts of life abroad, you're already prepared and you expect it. You expect it to be heavy. When the prefecture, loses your file because, mm, let me tell you, it's happened. It has happened to me before. Not a story for another day. But my point is, you expect to be a little bit stressed your first month because you're in survival mode because you need to get it right and you need to finish things, etc. You're filling out forms, you're learning these things, you're figuring out the transportation system, all of that stuff. You're ready for it, you're braced for it, let's say. And there's also not a lot of time to like feel anything because you're doing lots of stuff. I think the loneliness where I get lonely is when life starts settling and life starts working the way you want it to, the way you're expecting it to when you move abroad. So once your apartment is like set up, you know the language, all of these things, and you have like routines in place, then that's when, I don't know, I like to call it the quiet. It shows up and you actually like start to, I don't know, feel the new shape of your life. And part of that realization, whether even when the new shape is this glorious thing that you've carved out for yourself, the other part is that realization of it's just me. Even when you're like, it's just me, oh my God. Even when you're like this, it's also quietly, it's just me. I'm the one that will have to keep all of this running by myself. Definitely, probably. And I think that's like a gap between I live here and this feels like home. Mm, And I think it happens, I don't think like you will always have this gap. I think that happens in like spurts, like little bursts, little moments. You'll fall into the gap of, I live here. This feels like home because you're just lonely and tired. And this is why I say that loneliness hits you when everything feels right. And one of the times where it hits is like, for me, I remember sick days. No, not too much, but in early, maybe like the first, in like year two or year three of living in France, and then you got sick. Like the first time you get like really, really sick. And it kind of like dawns on you that you have to drag yourself to the pharmacy. I'm just like, I have to go because there's nobody else to say. And so I'm just like bundled up, trying to go to the pharmacy. And so, you go. And then you have to navigate the counter in French while your head is pounding. You walk back, you get yourself in bed, you take the meds. Like, and then nobody knew it was hard. It was like a hard day unless like you text them or you WhatsApp them. And even then they're like far away and they can't really like help you. And I don't like to share whenever I'm having a hard time, whether it's loneliness or some other type of hard time, I don't like to share it with people who cannot provide me a solution. Like, is it the word lamenting comes up, but I think that's like a judgy way of saying it. But talking about my hard times is not cathartic for me unless I'm talking to somebody who can, I don't know, brainstorm it with me or can offer help that's going to solve it or stuff like me just talking to people, just talking to somebody else about my problems. It's not cathartic. It doesn't create any comfort. Like it feels like I'm wasting time. And so I think that also adds to the Yeah, adds to when you're in that loneliness feel and you're also maybe like going through like a hard time or you're going through this and you don't have anybody to text or to talk to because they won't relate. Or it's like the win that nobody around you can really understand, like celebrating something and they're just like, ah, but they don't understand like the weight behind it. Like that part is what gets a bit lonely. Even when you have people who are like congratulating you, earnestly, sincerely congratulating you, congrating you, what? Hmm. Yeah, it's another time, and I think this is deeply important. And I think this is the loneliness about living abroad and living in France that affects me the most is it's like that. It's the time after handling and solving and figuring out a hard thing. That loneliness that happens afterwards because you can't really share when you're abroad, you're by yourself. It's not during the hard process, it's afterwards. I don't know if it's kind of like the come down when you're the crash, the dopamine crash. I don't know. But when the doing is done and there's nothing left to like keep you moving, that's where this loneliness actually lives, right there in that space. And there was this time where, yeah, I mentioned it before. I had to deal with the plumber for some situation or the other. And it wasn't like anything dramatic, oh my God, but it was just inconvenient. And I had to spend the whole day on the phone because it was also like on the weekend. It was also on a holiday weekend. And I had to call. You can't really call your landlord because in France, the landlord isn't really going to fix this thing. I I also have a rental agency, so I also did message rental agency, but it's also a weekend and people don't work on the weekends. And so, you call the syndic, which is kind of like I don't know, the co-op that handles the building. And you need messages. You have to like I had to be like googling words for the different parts of a toilet because even in English, like I don't know all the names of the different parts of a toilet that I need to tell to a plumber personally. But like you have to like Google things a lot. You have to research the French for stuff because your brain isn't working and everything is inconvenient. And I had to just wait around my apartment because somebody might come, and then nobody came. And it was 6 o'clock in the evening until it got started. So I spent like the whole day just dealing with this, more or less. And I mean, nothing was on fire. It was just inconvenient, right? The actual problem was small. But after the plumber left finally and everything like ended, I kind of just like sat down and just kind of like stared in space for a while because I just knew I had nobody to share this with, and I just had to like move on and go on with my life. And that was the moment. It's not the calls, it's not the waiting. It's the moment after when you've sorted out whatever you need to sort out, or you know, the success of the moment passes, and you don't have like anyone to like really to relate to whatever it is that just happened. And that's when I feel most lonely. And it's probably, I think these are the only times that I do feel lonely. Other ways of solitude, I don't know if I don't know if that's like a big deal. Like maybe a microsecond of it, then I feel lonely. But in these case, in these cases, is when I feel lonely, and it's not sad. It doesn't. It's not like I feel like I'm in lack or I'm a problem or I can't figure things out or anything like this. It's just heavy. And it's heavy also because I know at some point later on it's going to repeat itself in different forms forever because I chose to adult abroad. Mm, and it's this choice of living abroad is fully aligned with what I want to do. And I deeply like this space that I've created. But it's just sometimes that loneliness that hates is that you understand that nobody's going to walk through the door and help you and save you. And it's not because like I'm lacking in support or anything like this. It's just that's the deal. That's part of the deal of living abroad. And that's the deal that you have to come to terms with when you move to France. It's the it's the price you pay of building a life by yourself for yourself in a country that isn't natively yours. Yeah, so back to the plumber story. After I realized that I mean, I sat with it a little bit. I sat with it for some time and then I got up and I made dinner because well, that's what's next. So whenever people talk about doesn't it get lonely? Whenever they ask me this, whenever my clients ask me, doesn't it get lonely to live abroad? What does, by yourself? Isn't it lonely to live in France by yourself? Whenever clients ask me this, I think about that day with the plumber because it's not the empty chair across the table. It's the, yeah, it's the kitchen floor, me sitting down on the kitchen floor thinking about the day I just had and having, yeah, the moment after I handled something again. Where the only person that knows what it like fully costs me is me. This is what I think about when people ask what's loneliness. It's not about FOMO of what's going on back home or FOMO, fear you missing out on other things with people. That relational aspect of loneliness that typically is what I hear about. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm at peace with it. Like I don't care. personally. Um, and when I for my clients when they come through the France Blueprint session, many almost none of them lead with this, and this is not their question. A few of them will just ask about willingness, but they're asking about the typical one, that FOMO, fear of missing out on things. And they clients will often lead with visa, job timeline, money, logistics, yeah, the usual. But somewhere in the middle of call, when we start going through, the audit of what you really want and what's going on with what life is going to look like abroad, and we're working through it, then they always get surprised when I mention this part because it's not something that they think about. And my clients will say, "I'm scared of being lonely." But again, it's usually the missing out part. It's or sometimes they'll phrase it as like, "I'm independent, I can handle it." And you are independent and you can handle it. Absolutely. Really not a question. It's really about whether you've thought about the cumulative weight of carrying everything alone. Like, have you thought about this? And you don't need an answer like right now, and you don't even need an answer for it in like before you move to France. But you do need to understand and acknowledge that that question exists, and it's something that you need to process. When you do that, when you hold that question, then you will do well with your move abroad. And it's not because like you're more resilient than other people. It's not because you're tougher. You could be tough. You could be resilient. You could be all of these. But it's that you take this load seriously, and yeah, you understand that this is a price that you have to pay, and you understand, you even knowing that this type of loneliness exists, you're light years ahead of people. And so this is what I wanted to share with you, and I wanted to talk to you about, because I want you to get ready in the best way possible for your move to France. That's the move. That's the move you should be making. And if what I'm describing is making you a little nervous, nervous is fine. Nervous means that you're paying attention. And I'm not saying don't move alone. Some of the most aligned, versions of your life will be built by choices that you make on your own for your own. Um And I'm not saying, oh, you need a partner first or you need to find friends first before you move. You really don't need any of this. And I'm definitely not saying like, oh, you need to toughen up or any of that. Like, I feel like framing it in that way makes it worse or makes it like doom and gloom. What I'm saying is this move to France is bigger than the move to France. This move abroad is bigger than the move abroad. Don't go in blind to a part of it that you can't see from the outside. And so this is why I'm here and I'm sharing, and this is why I've set up your friend's blueprint. Sit with the questions like, you know, who do I have? Is there anyone in this corner of the world that can sometimes hand this load off to? Or what's your plan for the days when carrying it is heavier than usual? Do you know the difference between people who will sympathize and people who can like actually relate? Uh, Do you need to build up? Do you have any of the second rate people who can relate part in your life, or do you need to like pay attention to build that aspect of your life? What does support look like in month 3, month 9, year 2? Have a vision of that. Like, it may turn out wildly different than you think, and it might turn out like so much better than you're imagining, but you should sit with the questions. and acknowledge them and know that they exist so that you're what you're clear and you have that clarity. Clarity is what you need to move abroad and to move to France. And so, like I said, you don't need the answers like right now. You just need to know the questions exist. And this is exactly the part of the blueprint session, my strategy session is built for. When women, book one-on-ones with me, yeah, we go through the visa, of course, we go through your timeline, go through the budget, all the practical pieces. The part that ends up actually being the most useful, almost every time I see it, is the part where women didn't think to plan for, and that's the emotional strength, emotional resilience that's needed. How you're actually going to carry your life once you're inside it. Um, what kind of community you might need to build the version of you that's actually living your life in France. People who, in my experience, the people who struggle the most with their move abroad, there aren't the ones who even picked the wrong visa. It's the ones who didn't plan for this emotional load. If that's you, if you've been like suspecting that this move is like a bigger conversation than YouTube can give you, then that's what your friend's blueprint is for. The link is in the description. Spots are limited each month on purpose because I want to actually meet you where you are. So I'll leave you with this. The loneliness of living abroad is real. It's specific. It's not the loneliness that most people warn you about. It's yeah, the loneliness of being the only one whose name is on everything in a country that, isn't really natively yours, around people who not always can fully relate. And it's like I don't know, the loneliness of adulthood, but it's just amplified. Living abroad will amplify it. And it's not a sign that you made the wrong choice. It's part of the deal. And you will not regret it once you understand and acknowledge that this is part of the deal. If this video reflected something you've been feeling, even from like the research stage, drop me a comment. Tell me where you are in the process. I read them all. I respond to them all. And if you want to move more further than, like I said, my one-on-one move abroad strategy session is the link is in the description. When you're ready, let me know so that we can build out your friend's blueprint. And for my next video, I think we're going to talk about perhaps how much it actually costs to move to France. Honest version, we're going to look at some numbers that many people leave out. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.